Hi, Catherine here with Handmade by Circle Art Designs. Well, today is picking up loom work again. It's not perfect, but it is lots of fun. On my work table today, we will be working on a diamond pattern loom work piece, and I will explain to you what I did wrong and what I did right. So, first off, I want to look at our mat, our workspace, and I see the Simply Grateful. And today, I know I say it a lot, but I truly am simply grateful for my daughter. I did loom work when I was pregnant with her. I had a wonderful teacher, and she was part of a powwow association that we had joined when I first got married to my husband. And as I was carrying our child, Vera decided she would teach me loom work. And I had so much fun. And I wanted to share that with you. You know, raising all the children that were in and out of our home, this kind of got pushed to the side. But I always have had such a love for it in my heart. And it has been bubbling back up over the last few months. And I've thought, oh, it's just too hard. But the Lord really put it on my heart. So let's just do it. And then my daughter said, why aren't you recording this? So you're not going to get everything. And I said, oh, I'm not good. There are a lot of people that are really good at this. This type of loom work isn't exactly what I learned. We put all our stuff on leather. And she said, you should do this, Mom, because it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. Wow. Talk about the Lord speaking to you through your kids. That's amazing. So, as I put my mat down and I'm finding the center, let's go ahead and we will look at what I have recorded. And before we do, what do you have to be thankful for today? All right, here we go. So as I said, I did not plan on recording everything, but whenever my daughter came through, I went, all right, I'll give this a shot. I have used the bead-along black thread. Now, when I learned to do this, we actually did leather and thread instead of just thread. So, but for this, we're going to use the bead-along. I've tried several things. They're really too stretchy, or at least I find them stretchy, and that when you take the tension off of the bracelet, it kind of buckles. I have been playing with this for several weeks, so I've got several little things that I have that are in my own stash, but I thought I would go ahead and show you this one. Now, the trick to loading this is to keep your thread taut. This is the time whenever you want your thread to be like the strings on a guitar. And I use the old iron, easy to use bracelet maker that you can usually get. I know you can get it off Amazon, but this beading loom, I've seen it in Walmart, I've seen it in Michael's, I have not seen it in Hobby Lobby. I got this one from Joann's years ago, and I love this. I do have one of the little blue ones that you have the little, it looks like a bow, and I cannot think what the name of it, the lady is who does it, but it's everywhere. Everybody uses it, but this is what I learned on. And since I was picking up an old craft from years ago, I decided to go ahead and use what I learned on, because I find this one the easiest to work with, because if your thread is not taut, you just unscrew the little bolt and tighten it up a little bit. And you can also move the thread on either end when you need a little extra length. So that is why I use this one. There are lots of people that show you how to load a loom. So if this is something you think you might like to do, please go ahead and look up someone who is much better than I am at explaining this. But if I continue to do this and my daughter continues to push, I will do one where I load the loom. All right, now we're ready to go. Again, I'm using the black bead-along beading thread. So you really want your loom threads to be just really taut. I started to say really tight. You don't want them tight, but you want them taut, like guitar strings. Now I have tied about 36 inches of the bead-along black thread in a overknot. I put the tail through twice in a surgeon's knot and tied it on the side. I've left a long thread so that I have something to weave in when I'm through. Next, go on 5 of the 11 O's. I have put 6 strings on here because I am doing a 5 count bracelet. Once I get that done, as soon as I get that tail out of the way, which I have managed to catch, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go under the loom on the side that the knot is. Under, some people go over, but I learned under from Vera. So I'm going to go under, and I'm going to put 1 11/0 in each of the little spaces. Let's see, go ahead. Especially using this loom. I don't know about so much the other loom, but for this loom, I put 1 11/0 in each of the spaces so it looks just like that. And now I'm aggressively pushing that up. Look at the pressure on my finger so that they pop up above the threads. Now, the first thing I did whenever I did this, in that last thread, I caught the tip of my needle and it's not wanting to come through. So I'm going to have to back this out and I'm going to have to do it again. So I backed it out. Did not catch it that time. And now I'm pulling fairly tauntly so that I make the space smaller for these 11/0s. However much space you give these 11/0s in the beginning, you want to give it the same space when you are all the way down the bracelet. That's what I mean to say. So that you don't have ups and downs and ins and outs. But again, I've put 5 of these on. And I'm trying to straighten my needle. I always hold it so taut that I have a tendency to bend it. But you know what? I've seen a lot of these that work with looms, and I think they all bend their needles. But anyway, so once I go from the side that the knot was on, the one we began on, I go under. I'm going to push 1 in each one of those little spaces, and then I am going to push it forward. Now then, as I said, or at least I believe I said, I'm not using my expensive 11/0s for this one. And so these are not, if you've watched me use these, you will notice that they're not consistent in size. But for most things that I do, that doesn't really matter. And for this piece, it's not going to really matter because we are working on learning the technique and really enjoying the process. If you are someone who can't stand it that some of your beads are bigger than other of your beads, then you probably, when you're choosing your beads for loom work, you need to choose one that has a very consistent size to it. Like the Delicas, or is it, my brain has lost the name of the other one, but I'll look it up and I can put it on for you. We have had people pulling cable all day long in our attic, and my daughter's little dog has been barking in my ear. I've been locked in the bedroom so he doesn't get the little people that are running in and out of our house. And my brain is just a little scattered this morning, but I really did want to get this edited and get it up for you today. So see how pretty that looks? Even when you're using the more inexpensive of your seed beads, just be careful with what you pick out of your little pile. Even though they're not necessarily 100% consistent in size and shape, you should be able to go ahead and get a more consistent look. Where you run into trouble is some of the beads are made by one company and it says 11.0. And then some of the other beads I make are smaller. I buy are smaller and it says 11.0. And then some of the beads I buy at Hobby Lobby, they say 12.0. But so you will get a slightly inconsistent look with this, but it's still really a beautiful piece. And I really, really love loom work. I have missed it, and I did not realize how much I missed it until I started making it recently. This is a great thing to sit in the afternoon or evening and work with. All right. So I have pulled out a plum and a light plum to work with the silver. I had made a bracelet using gold 11.0s and used these two colors. And I was really looking for a stack with the colors, but I'm going to tell you now, because I promised I would, it is a great mistake, that light plum, when you're using silver. But we're going to start out with the dark plum 11.0s. I'm sorry, my fingers are off the mat. As you can see, I have pulled my pin out, and I really wasn't paying much attention to what was happening because I really wasn't planning on ever showing anybody this. But what I am doing is I'm starting the diamond shape. I have, let's see if I can get this down. Okay, so you have 2 silver, 1 plum, 2 silver, and that will be the point of the first diamond. Now, after the initial start of my bracelet, I will be using just 2 rows between it, but at the start of the bracelet, I am using 3. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that down. Again, if you're writing this pattern down, it is 2 of your main color, 1 contrasting color, and 2 of your main color. And that is the point. The dark plum works out real well. And even though I don't show it, I don't think, in the part that I recorded, I also pulled out a copper. And I did that. I had to refix my thread. So let's go ahead and go through. I'm pushing it up so I get it above the thread, and that's the main thing. Make sure you get it above the thread that is on the loom, because it really will just pop off. So here I've got the first one. Isn't that pretty? I just love this. And so that is the dark plum. This says an 11.0. I got it from Wild Beads. It is slightly smaller than an 11.0. So it has a little space. The next one I'm going to put on the main color for me, which is the silver. Then the contrasting color, which this one is the dark plum. I'm going to put 3 dark plums on. And then the main color again, which is the silver. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this right in here. All right, I'm going to go underneath the loom. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to get them all in the right place. And I will go ahead and push that up. Now, isn't that pretty? I really, really like this. So once I get them all above, I'm going to go through the main color, which I put 1 bead on, whatever your main color is. Then 3 of the contrasting color, and then 1 of the silver. And I'm trying very careful not to catch those threads. That is one of the problems with using that big slit that goes all the way down needle. I use it for a lot of beading, but you have to be real careful that the blunt tip does not catch your thread. And if you'll notice, when I change to these plum, the dark plum, the thread line got just a little smaller. Now for the next row, I will not put any of the main color on at all. This will be 5 beads all the way across in the plum. Alrighty, so I've got those 5 plum, the dark plum. I'm pushing them up through not wires, through the thread. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to very carefully run needle over the top of the thread so that I encase those beads again in that in that thread. I keep wanting to say wire because I use wire so much. And so, just to review, the first is your main color, 2 main color, 1 of the contrasting color, and 2 main color. Number 3 is 1 main color, 3 of the contrasting, 1 main color. The next one is 5 of the contrasting all the way across. And so now we're going to start building back down. So 5 is the largest of the plum in this pattern. Next, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put 1 of the silver, which is the main color. Then I'm going to put on 3 of that dark plum, see there? And then 1 of the silver. I'm going to bring it underneath. And then I'm going to push those beads up. Now, as I said, I always bring mine underneath. That was the way I was taught. But at one time, I was at a beading party, and there was a lady there, an elderly lady, and she always pushed hers from the top down. And I never could figure out how in the world she knew if she was encasing all her beads in the thread when she ran that needle underneath. But she did, and she did gorgeous work. And so I was very pleased with being able to see someone that did that and see that it really, really does work. But I find it easier to go under and push up. All right, so we've done the 3. So this will be the last of the plum in this diamond. Sorry, I had to get my thoughts together. So for this last one again, you're going to go 2 of your main color, which is the silver for me, then 1 of the plum, and then 2 more of the main color. We're going to push it up just like that. And we're going to go on top of the thread. Now I'm going to stop here, and I want to show you the next color because I go to the light plum, and I want to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to speed this up right here as I go ahead, and I am putting on 2 rows of the silver. So that will be 2 rows, and then I'm going to start that light plum. But I do want to show you because you may want to change the light plum. So what you're seeing here is a picture of the bracelet as I have done all of the colors. I'm going to go ahead and finish this bracelet out till it hits about 7 inches. But if you will back it up when I was playing the music and you look at that light plum, when the light shines on the bracelet with that silver, that plum, the light plum, will just disappear. It's like a magic act. It just disappears off the bracelet. But if you put it in shadow or you turn it slightly on your wrist, then the light plum will show back up. If I was doing this again, which I probably will, I will do the dark plum and the dark copper. You know, I knew this from my younger days, but I was just playing with colors that I had out on my desk, and this did not work with the silver. You can see it when you use gold, but you cannot see it in the silver. It is too close on the reflecting of light palette. So I wanted you to see the pattern in a slightly darker light so that you could tell what I had been doing. All right, let's move on. Now that I've finished my pattern across the loom, I need to make some selvage, just like selvage on material. So to do this, you're going to weave in and out across your thread on the loom. And so you go underneath, let's see if I can get this, underneath just like that. And then we're going to go under and over and under and over until you get to the next side. And I will continue that till I get a selvage that is about the width of the closure I'm going to be using. So again, going around that first thread, then in and out and in and out till you go over the top of the other side. And always push it down. Then again, around and under, then up and down until you get to the top of the other side. And I'm going to continue doing this until, as I said, I get it built up to about the width of the closure that I'm going to be using. I'm sorry, I got to watch my fingers. All righty. So I bet you're wondering what kind of closure I'm going to use on this. Well, this here is a ribbon closure. I get them in several sizes along with lobster claw clasp extender chains and the jump rings, and I picked these up on Amazon. They come in gold and silver in the little kit that I get. I'm using the smallest of the ribbon clasps or the ribbon crimps, and it has little teeth on the inside that would grab a ribbon, but we don't want it to grab our thread because it could cut it. So right now what we're doing is we're preparing a selvage that we can put this ribbon closure on, and it will crimp down just like a regular crimp where you're going to take and you're going to put your selvage between it and you're going to mash it down gently. So let's go on and I'll show you that step when we get to it, but right now we're making the selvage. So again, this is the ending that I just showed you the picture for, and its little teeth, and it's going to go right there. So I was looking and measuring it and making sure that I had enough. Now I have gone ahead and did this selvage a little bit, and now I'm going to start closing it up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a loop, and I'm sorry my hand's in the way, but I am just making a knot. Like I began working on this, I am closing it up like that, and then I am going to go back and forth through this selvage section. You are not going to see anything but the very end of it, but I want to make sure that I have the pieces held together, the different strings, and that I have made enough of a selvage strong enough that it's going to take the glue that we're going to put on it. As I said, when you're doing this, once you've got your selvage made and you've got your thread tied off and looped in and run through and everything you want to do to make sure that you feel that it's secure, you will need to put some type of glue on this. I use Gorilla Glue. When you do the gluing, you're going to want to put a goodly amount on the top and the bottom, and you leave it on the loom when you're doing this. It will need to dry for 24 hours if you're using the clear Gorilla Glue before you do the next step. And that is what I'm doing here. I'm just going in and out through, like I was sewing, just in and out and in and out between the different threads on the loom, making sure that I have looped that edge of the selvage. And if you've ever done any a blanket stitch, or you're just keeping it a piece from running where it wants to make little strings, and you loop it around and you go in and out, and that catches it and keeps it from unraveling. And that's what I'm doing right here. Now I've got to the other end and I made that same knot on the string, and I'm going to leave my tail because I will be putting that tail in on the other side. So I'm going to just turn this around and go ahead and do the other side, and I will see you in a moment. And we are back. Now I've taken a toothpick and I have got that Gorilla Glue, and it's real goopy, but I want to put a lot on here because remember I told you that the little ribbon crimp, that little ending, it has teeth in it, and I want it to hold, but I do not want it to break. Now when we put that crimp on, we will not be catching any of the bead rows. We will put it right up to the bead rows, but we will not be catching any of the bead rows. So I put it on top on one side. Going to go ahead and put it on top on the other, and then leaving it in the loom, I'm going to turn it over and put it on the bottom as well. And let me get that done, and this process will be ready to sit and dry. So the next step is not necessary, but it is one that I'm going to go ahead and do, and I am going to put on a beaded side in that copper, a line on each side of this loom work. And if you've ever seen my any of my beaded earrings, or my there's a bracelet that I did that was a bugle bead bracelet, I do the same thing. You put on your 11/0, you go through the thread right there that you had been looping around on this loom work, and then you go under it, and then you go back up through the bottom of your seed bead and then pull it taut, and it makes this little line. And I'm going to do this all the way around. So one more time, we're going to put on one of the 11/0s, go under the thread that's right there where you looped around the loom. It's going to come up through that thread, and the top of that, it won't go in the bead, but it'll sit on the top. Then under the seed bead, you just pull down and then pull it taut. And then I'm going to do this all the way up and all the way back down and give this a nice little edge. You don't have to do this, but on this particular bracelet, I'm going to do it. Well, I finished up both sides of my loom work with this pretty little beaded edge. And you could do a picot on this too, but I would use 15/0 if you did a picot. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut my string. I'm going to start on one side. I've already moved all the strings that I had hanging and run them in and out of the loom work so that they're nice and hid. And I'm going to take it off two at a time, and I'm going to do a surgeon knot. And once I get the surgeon's knot tied, let's see if I can show you this right here. So I go through the loop once, through the loop a second time, and tie it down. And I'll do this twice on all of them. Once I get that done, then I will clip my ends, not right up against the knot because these are not glued, but they will be hid in that ribbon cover that I'm going to be using. And so I'm going to do this on both sides, and then I'll see you back here to put the ending on. So we've got everything finished up and we're ready to put this ribbon ending on. Remember, we're not going to mash hard, just close well. We do not want to break through that layer of glue we have on there. We don't want to ruin the little threads protected in there. So I'm taking my fingers first, centering it, making sure that it is on there well, and then I'm using my nylon pliers to make sure that it goes down without scarring that ribbon closure. Now I'm mashing pretty hard because you have to get the teeth into the glue, but you don't want it to go all the way through that they meet and cut the threads themselves. Now once I get that done, I will clip off these little pieces of glue that are on the end. But for right now, we're going to go ahead, we're going to mash all those little strings from when we cut the string off the knots. We're going to get that centered in right like that. You see the little teeth on there? And that's why you have to have a selvage that is long enough that you don't have to encase the beads themselves, because if you did, because there's no glue protecting those strings, it would end up cutting them. Once I get that done, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to go ahead and cut, and I'll use my burner and burn some of them depending on how close they are. And we're going to get this ready to finish up. So now that I've got the endings finished on each side, I'm going to measure this, and I have chosen to use one of my large decorative heart. Look at that. Let's see if you can see it. It's so pretty. It has a little heart on it, and it is a lobster claw clasp. And I'm going to go ahead and use the large ring, but because my pieces are in the same plane, I have to use an extra jump ring so that it will lie flat on my wrist. And so now, once I've measured that, made sure it's going to be okay, we're going to get started with this. You know what ended up happening? It ended up being too big. Remember, this one is mine because it was lots of fun, but it is not perfect. And so I will not be putting this one up in the shop. But I just love it. I'm a little sad that I did not realize that the light purple would not work with the silver just because it worked with the gold. But you know, I was just using what was on my table, and it was a boo-boo. So even though in some light you can see it, and most of the light you're in, you cannot. It's too close to the silver. All right, with a twist of the wrist, I open my jump ring. I'm going, and you know what? I can't use that jump ring because these ribbons are real small. So again, with the twist of one wrist, holding the other one steady, I'm going to open that jump ring. I'm trying to decide which one I want to use. And I think the one I pulled was too little. So I'm going to put it through the teeny little hole on that ribbon clasp. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my larger one on and close it up. Now let me tell you what I ended up doing here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But because the hardware on this bracelet is so big, these little bitty thin jump rings, that even though they would hold, they looked kind of funny. And so what I end up doing is I put 3 of them on both ends. And let me see if I can get you a picture to show you what that's going to look like. Or maybe I'll just jump in the video to that. I'll see you in just a minute. All right, so this is what I've done here. I went ahead and joined that large heavy jump ring, that decorative jump ring, onto, and then once I was through with that, I added 2 more, and I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other side. I have put on a jump ring and put the decorative lobster claw on, and then holding those 2 together, I'm going to bring it through the ribbon ending and then through my lobster claw and close it up, and then I'm going to do it again so that we will have 3 on both sides, and I think that makes it look very balanced. The next step for this is I want to add a charm, but I don't want to add anything to it that might ruin that delicate little thread it's on. So I've taken a extender and I have put it on the bracelet itself. That way it can move, but it will be protecting the thread that it is made on. Next, I'm going to take a jump ring that I've already opened, and I'm going to add a cute little owl to this. I really debated about what I wanted. I thought, oh, maybe a tree of life or this, or, well, I love owls. So we're going to put an owl on it, and I'm using a 5mm jump ring for this. No, a 4mm jump ring for this. I'm sorry. And I opened it up with a twist of one side, one wrist. I may have to open it up a little more. I put my owl on it, and then I'm going to very carefully add this owl. Well, let's see. Maybe that little one was too much. I'll have to go one size up. I'm going to add that owl to one of the links in the extender chain I've used as the bell for this bracelet. I'm going to close it up, and then I'm going to move it around, see which way I've put it on. Yep, that way. And then I am finished. This bracelet is finished. So let's close up the piece. Now, isn't that pretty? I just love it. Now, it is not perfect by a long shot, but it's beautiful, and I had a lot of fun making it. Look at the way that little owl just sits there. It's so happy on this piece, and I think that the larger clasp really sets this off. It is really a pretty piece. Let's see if I can get it back the other way so you can see it a little better. I would always wear it, I think, where it faced me anyway, but you know. And that's one thing I want you to come away with today, and bless my daughter's heart. Just God bless her. She had to remind me that it's not always about doing something perfectly. If you have watched me for any length of time, you know I am not perfect. Now look how that thing just slides up and down on that bracelet, and I don't really have to worry about it cutting the thread. But it's about having fun. It's about enjoying what you're doing in the moment. And I really did enjoy putting this piece together, and I already have plans for some other loom work things, and I'll try to remember to film them and share them with you. So let's see some pictures. Thank you again for joining me today on this beading adventure. It was really a lot of fun, but I have to tell you, I worked on this on and off for about a week. And before it was finished, I was going, there is no way I'm ever showing anybody this. But I really did enjoy it. And I hope you pick you up a little inexpensive loom and do some loom work yourselves. It's peaceful. if you just get in the moment of what you're doing, it can be enjoyable. And I just pray that for you. God bless you. God keep you safe this week. May you have an amazing beading adventure of your own. And may you try some loom work. Remember, this weekend I am putting out a shop drop, so check back in. God bless y'all. Have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you on Thursday. Catherine, Handmade by Circle Art Designs. Bye, y'all.